We'll give it a second here to see who's all going to join. If you guys can hear me okay, give me a shout in the comments. So if you guys don't exactly know what's going on, we are talking about potential for severe weather tomorrow, which is Thursday. We're going to wait just a few minutes here to get some more people in the stream. So we'll give it about a minute or two. What's up, everybody? Got a good comment section today. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Rye. Shadow, you can hear. What's up, Chris? Hello, Amber. So we have 47 here. So good evening to you all. We have a potential. I'm going to exaggerate potential severe weather setup tomorrow. Now, what I mean by potential is we have the ingredients in the atmosphere in place. The question is, are we going to be able to break the cap? So the atmosphere is going to be capped tomorrow, which basically means it has a lid on it. So updrafts will go up, and then they're going to hit that cap, and they're going to that's all they're going to do. So when you want storms, you want the updraft to continue higher and higher and higher in the atmosphere. But tomorrow, the atmosphere may not let the storms or updrafts do that. That is the big question. None of the models really have a good firm handle or solution. There could be a few complexes that form over Wisconsin, Minnesota, maybe Iowa area and push our way. But then if that's the case, then the question becomes how far east are they going to move? Because usually what happens is instability will set up into the northern and central parts of Indiana, and it'll kind of make a southeast dive from Wisconsin, we'll say. It'll make a southeast dive, brushing far southwest Michigan, like Kalamazoo area, maybe Grand Rapids, and then point southward toward the Indiana border, and then it'll dive mostly into Indiana. So the big question tomorrow, besides the cap, if it's going to break, is where exactly storms are going to fire, because none of these models currently have a good handle on it. So we have a model pulled up here. Now, this is completely, I don't believe any of these models have a good firm handle. So I'm just kind of showing you what's going on, what we're seeing. And if we look here, we're going to go ahead and go back to this afternoon's run of the HRRR model. If we're going to look in the morning, there could be a few areas of complexes. The first of one being in Illinois, in Indiana. Far southwest Michigan could be brushed by that. I know this model doesn't show that. But again, these models aren't really handling the situation very well at all right now. So with that being said, far southwest Michigan, early morning around 6 to 8 a.m. in this coming morning on Thursday morning, so tomorrow morning. When you guys wake up, you could be dealing with some thunderstorms, or you might not be. This is a classic case of 50-50 chance. We're either going to be wrong or we're going to be right. So I'm just going to be giving you guys the full spectrum of what could potentially happen. So a second area that we're going to watch is up in northern Michigan. You can kind of see some things firing up here across Lake Michigan, up by, I want to say that's Ludington, Manatee, and North area. Manistee, should I say? Up by Traverse City. That could also be a second area to watch for a complex of storms developing and then again pushing east-southeastward. That may also be a secondary area. And then also, again, Thursday afternoon and evening, this is where things get really complicated. So if we have a complex of storms to our north in northern Michigan, that could potentially spark more development. So what happens a lot of times is if we get morning storms, they leave what we call an outflow boundary. It's basically a boundary that sags southward, and along that boundary, updrafts are more likely to form. So we could see more development, which could help break that cap tomorrow south of this complex, potential complex in northern Michigan. So we can kind of see some supercells or at least some multicells. We're not going to call them supercells just yet, but if storms do fire, they could be supercells just because the way the wind shear is oriented. We'll get into that a little bit later on, but we could be seeing some development here across Lake Michigan. This particular model has also more development firing in central Michigan up by the Flint area, and also up here into the northern part of lower Michigan. And again, up here in the UP, we don't expect severe weather up there, but some scattered showers and storms are possible up there as well. So again, this is 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. So a couple, it's really hard to pinpoint timing and locations with this setup, but we could be talking southwest Michigan tomorrow morning, northern Michigan tomorrow morning in the afternoon, and again, central and southern Michigan in the afternoon, evening tomorrow. So this model may have a good handle on it. It may not have a good handle. Again, 50-50 chance. So this is what one model is saying. We go over to our other model, the NAM3. So this is the complex that we're talking about that could be diving towards southwest Michigan. You kind of see a different solution. This is 4 a.m. in the morning. So about, is that 8 hours from now? Would that be? Is my mouth correct? Yeah, 8 hours from now. This is what this model thinks the radar is going to look like. We have a little bit of an area that's going to cross Lake Michigan, another area back here in Iowa. That sags southeastward and affects southwest Michigan there. This is 7 o'clock in the morning. So if that were to occur, severe weather isn't likely in southwest Michigan, although there could be some small hail and definitely could be some intense lightning with that. We don't expect there to be a wind threat or a tornado threat in the early morning hours just because instability on the surface is not present. So if southwest Michigan does get those storms, it's more likely to be a hail and a lightning threat. And again, moving on to the afternoon, we have a couple cells across Lake Michigan that come on shore and completely fizzle. This is 12 noon again tomorrow. And again, afternoon, this is 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 7 o'clock. It remains dry until the very evening, where northern Michigan pops up some cells. And as we continue, this is 10 o'clock in the evening. We have development up in the Thumb all the way down to about Flint, Lansing area. So it's a very hard setup. Again, I'll stress that. A lot of times with the strong cap that's going to be in place tomorrow, when the sun goes down, nocturnal cooling helps to break that cap. It weakens the cap because for some reason, actually, it's not some reason. The reasoning is because when the air cools, the cap is caused by warm air in the upper atmosphere. So when that air cools, the cap weakens, if that makes any sense. So the closer we get to sunset, the higher the storm chances become. So with that being said, severe threats, if storms were to fire in the morning, again, hail and lightning is your main threat, along with heavy rain is possible. In the afternoon, when instability is at its highest, the severe threat, again, is hail, lightning, damaging winds to 60. Tornado threats, the tornado threat is very, very low because of weaker, lower level shear. So we're mainly going to be talking wind and hail, and that, again, is if storms can break that cap. Areas we're going to be watching, again, I say anywhere from Flint, we'll say just to the north of Grand Rapids and south to the border of Ohio is the most likely area to see severe weather. But again, there could be some instability present still in northern Michigan just because of the way tomorrow's setup is looking. It looks to be a statewide thing, but the better wind shear and overlap of instability, lapse rates, everything we're looking at severe weather as a whole is better in the southern and central parts of the state. So with that being said, I know it's confusing. So if you guys have questions, I am willing to answer those as long as possible. So if you guys have questions, fire at me. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the comment section here. I've not been watching comments. So again, any questions, let us know. Yeah, Shadow, that is the question. Will it storm or will it not storm? 50-50 chance. Models yesterday were favorable for storm development. Today, they kind of backed off. So it's kind of up in the air. I know I read the Grand Rapids discussion earlier today, and they weren't really mentioning severe weather at all. But Detroit had mentioned that there could be a few different solutions, and one of the solutions could have been or could be a pretty strong complex of storms impacting the southeast portion, Detroit area. So from like the thumb all the way down to the south of the border, east of Lansing. And I'm getting some text from the other chasers. I'm going to go ahead and bring Chandler on here. He is in the wings here. John, time frame, depending on where you're at. Get Chandler added. Chandler, you should be a part of the stream now.
What up?
I cannot hear you for some reason. I may have to put my headphones in here. Give me a second. Give me 1 second, guys. Try to say something, Chandler.
Nick said he heard me.
Okay, I can hear you now. I just couldn't hear you. I was on a one-way microphone. So timing, John, depending on where you're at, Southwest Michigan could see some storms early in morning. And then central and southern Michigan, as well as northern Michigan, I'm saying most likely time frame is going to be after 4, just because that cap should hold pretty firmly until we'll say 5, 6 or after. So I'd say 4 is probably the earliest you're going to see storms. Sanilac County, so that's going to be, again, we're talking probably the most likely solution will be mid-afternoon, about 4 o'clock or so, and after, be watching. Depending on how this plays out, we could see some early morning storms and showers move through your area. If that's the case, it'd be early morning, like 8, 9 o'clock or so, around that time frame, centralized around 8 or 9 o'clock.
Did you already, Ryan, go over about the discrepancies between models and AFDs and SPC, and it might not convect at all?
Yes, I covered that pretty well. So we have that cap in place where that warm air is aloft. So updrafts, they want to go up, but they hit that cap and they can't do anything because that cap is in place. So if that cap comes off, or if they're able to break that cap, we'll have some storms. But it's kind of 50-50 at this point, just because that cap is in place, and models really don't know what to do with that cap. Some firestorms, some are just kind of like, we don't know. So it's a very hard forecast. I covered the Grand Rapids discussion. It wasn't really favorable for severe weather, but Detroit's was. I have not read Gaylord's discussion at all, although I would see a low-end severe threat up there occurring if that instability can make it that far north. But primarily the best overlap of ingredients is from about Grand Rapids to Flint, and then south to the border of Indiana and Ohio. I can go ahead and try to switch screens here to the SPC. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to let me do this. Give me a second. There we go. Share.
How's everybody enjoying the rain over the last few days? Hopefully everyone's yards are a little bit greener and flowers are a little bit bloomier and everything looks a little less brown where y'all are.
Yeah, hopefully we get some more rain tomorrow as well, with any potential storms that can come through. We need every drop we can get. I'm curious how the drought monitor is going to look tomorrow morning, because that gets released at 8 o'clock. So be watching for that. John says it's been great. Amber asks, what about Lansing? So again, Lansing is kind of in the middle of both what we expect to be the morning chances of showers. So I'd expect you to stay dry until after, again, 4 o'clock. I think after 4 o'clock, the chances of storms will increase. And again, the primary threats tomorrow are going to be hail and wind. We don't expect tornadoes to be a threat just because the way the wind shear is oriented and the strength of the wind shear in the lowest levels isn't really favorable for tornadoes at all. Yeah, the smoke is crazy, guys. That's been the news, the top headline in pretty much every news station in the state. This smoke is terrible.
Have you guys in the comments ever seen anything like this in terms of smoke here in Michigan? Or if you're not from Michigan but moved to Michigan, have you ever seen any smoke like this where you're from? I've never seen it. I've never seen anything like this before. Even a lot of my friends, they've said the same thing. They've never seen anything like it.
I know I haven't. I think this is the first time we've actually had wildfire smoke make it all the way down in here and just stay. I know we've had some in the past that kind of didn't really affect our air quality or visibility at all. This is pretty bad. Everybody's saying nope.
Yeah, it's been 2 days in a row where Michigan cities and towns have had the worst air quality anywhere in the world.
When I woke up for work this morning, it was, I want to say 303 in Detroit, which is unhealthy and hazard. It was I think it's hazardous is the official terminology for it. And they advised everybody to stay indoors. So
Eric, message us those pictures if you haven't already. I'd like to see those.
yeah, Kyle brings up a good point. NWS Grand Rapids issued their first dense smoke advisory for Lake Michigan. I've never seen that before.
I don't know that we'll ever see it again either.
I know some people are saying we'll see it off and on all summer long, but hopefully, I mean, first off, I hope that the wildfires are kept to a minimal from here on out, but we know that it's more like a seasonal thing up there in Canada. So we're probably bound to deal with it again eventually. But yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, I hope we don't see anything like this again for a long time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind just having everything orange here just for like 10 minutes just so I can take some pictures and then it can blow right out. And then we can have clear skies forever. I want a nice orange picture like they got in New York.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised the atmosphere, surprised it wasn't a different color outside just because of all the smoke. Usually when you get that, you kind of have an off color. But the sun, about an hour or two ago, looking out my window, was orange. Like it was really, really orange in the horizon. I'm not sure if it's still orange or not, but still really hazy out there where I live.
Well, thanks for joining, Eric. We appreciate it. Does it smell? Let me ask you this: did the smoke for you guys smell just as rubbery and like burnt plasticky as it did here? What up, Chris?
I know where I live, it didn't really smell too terrible. There was about an hour or two where I walked outside and was like, something smells off, but it wasn't too terrible down here in far southeast. Yeah, Doreen, I believe the only reason it smells this time around is just because it's more dense and thick. We're getting a lot more smoke than we did about a month ago. So that's probably why it has a smell to it. We do have a post on our page that was posted or shared, should we say, yesterday from our friend Chris. I want to say his last name is Easlick, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yep.
He spoke with the environmental agency here in Michigan, who explained why the smoke smells. So if you guys haven't already done that, scroll back to our Facebook feed to yesterday and check that post out if you guys want a good explanation on why the smoke is smelling terrible.
You guys check out our Patreon as well. For anyone who's new to the page here, we do post some pretty in-depth reasoning and forecast type stuff on our Patreon as well, and that's something that we're trying to grow. Of course, we appreciate it if you jumped onto that. You can also subscribe to us here on Facebook for in-depth forecasts and some early access to longer and shorter term forecasts as well.
We released all of our forecasts to our subscribers hours before we release them to the public. So you guys get exclusive content like that, as well as videos, podcasts, stuff like that. So there are definitely benefits to becoming a subscriber on Patreon and also on Facebook as well.
Yeah, Kyle, we've seen, well, I personally have had a headache. A couple of my coworkers have had headaches. No one really has had any throat irritation that I personally know. Again, that's not saying it's not happening. I just it's had it.
I've seen a lot of people comment on their nose dripping or their eyes burning or watering. Seen people itch. Yeah, it's just not a good situation.
There's another TV Met from somewhere. I don't know where. I didn't recognize the name. But after his shift yesterday, he went out to his car and there was like a very thin layer of dust or soot on his car from all the smoke.
Yep. You got to remember, it's not just trees burning up there. It's cars, it's houses, it's anything that these fires are in its path.
Mm-hmm. How many more days of this do you think, Ryan?
I think after tomorrow, it would die down, at least for a little bit, because the pattern kind of switches. In fact, let's take a look at the wind pattern, shall we? We can do that here with the models.
Drew, I saw some of that stuff too.
Let's look at the 850 millibar low level. So what I'm seeing from right now, we have the smoke coming down from, is it Quebec, I believe?
La Quebec.
Yeah, so if we go ahead and fast forward to tomorrow, we have more of a southerly flow tomorrow, so it should help to move some of that smoke to the north. And then Friday, if we jump to Friday, we kind of have a westerly, northwesterly type of flow, so we could see some smoke return for Saturday. I don't see any northeast or northerly flow until Sunday or Saturday night. So we may see a return of the smoke this weekend after the Thursday and Friday here. So as long as it's how long it's going to go for, it's probably going to go for a while. Some of these fires are more in the rural area, so there's really no resources, should I say, up there fighting it. So they're just kind of letting it burn, unfortunately, which is probably the best thing to do because the resources need to be diverted to more populated areas to save houses and property.
Ryan, I'm gonna quick tuck Britton to bed here, and then I'm gonna jump on my computer. Okay,
Okay, go for it.
so I'll be back in just a minute.
All right, I'll take you off the stream here. There we go. So yeah, wildfire smoke is definitely the top story here. And again, if you guys have any questions regarding the severe threat tomorrow, go ahead and ask them now. Yeah, I feel bad for Canada too. Stephanie, anything on rain besides smoke out of Canada? You're asking about the rain for tomorrow? I wouldn't say tomorrow's a good chance of rain at all. It's going to be isolated, and we may not see much of any at all. It really just depends on how that all plays out with the cap, because we have a cap in place. So storms will try to go up, and the updraft will reach that cap, and it won't be able to overcome that cap, possibly. And if it does, we'll see some storms, possibly strong to severe. But there's a chance we could not see. There's a chance we may not see storms at all. So. On your screen here, you see the SPC outlook for tomorrow. They have a good portion of lower Michigan in the dark green, which is level 1 of 5 on the severe threat. So we call it marginal risk. So it's a very low end threat here. They're not entirely sure how it's going to play out either. We're just kind of have to wait and see, because even into tomorrow morning, we'll have a better idea of what we're going to deal with tomorrow. But overall, this setup is not going to be handled very well by the model, so it's just going to be a wait and see type of game. So yeah, that's what we got so far. Anybody have any questions at all? If no one has any questions, we can probably go ahead and hop off here in a few. I hope I explained everything thoroughly for you guys. Try to do that to the best of our ability. I know a lot of this is hard to understand for a lot of you guys, so we try to break it down as simple as possible. So. Saginaw. So again, we'll go ahead and go over this again. So we have potential for morning showers and storms in very far southwest Michigan and up in the northern part of Michigan. So Saginaw may be affected. I'm going to stress may. We're not entirely sure how this is going to play out because of different model solutions in the cap. But Saginaw could see a round of storms right around, we'll say 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe I can't talk, apologize. Maybe a bit before that. And then again, the main threat we're watching is going to be after 4 p.m. And again, that's going to be a very based off of if the storms can break the cap, which the environment will be capped. So the storm's going to go up, hit that cap, and they're either going to go and break through that cap, or they're going to hit that cap and they're going to die. So it's not a for sure thing. We're just kind of to wait and see. But Saginaw, after 4 p.m. for everybody in lower Michigan. And especially as we get closer to sunset, because cooling of the air when the sun goes down helps break that cap and weaken it. So. Tuscola County, again, same thing I just explained for Saginaw. You may see some early morning storms around 9, 10 o'clock. us at least centered around that time frame. And then after 4 p.m., we could see some storms fire up. The chances get higher as we get closer to sunset, just because the cooling of the air will help weaken that cap, and we'll be able to let we'll be able to let storms break through that cap. So, what's up, Amanda from Three Rivers? I was just there chasing back on the 25th. Excuse me. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'll go ahead and probably hop off here. So I appreciate you guys watching. I'll leave it open for another about 30 seconds here. If you guys have questions, now is the time. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and end it. If you guys haven't already, we have multiple posts up on our page regarding the severe weather tomorrow. So if you guys want a more detailed discussion forecast, you're welcome to go back there and look. We have stuff on the wildfires. We have stuff from 25th. We have a lot of stuff on our page. So go back and scroll through our timeline, check it all out. Yeah, no problem, Doreen. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, I'll be signing off of here. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to us on Facebook and Patreon. We also have a YouTube channel. We post our recaps, forecasts, a bunch of other different things, podcasts as well. So check us out, guys. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you guys tomorrow. Everybody stay safe.